In order to explain the Alekhine-Maroczy Gambit, first we really need to understand the normal Winawer. The Winawer variation in the French defense starts after black pins our knight with bishop to b4. The main line starts e5, and they break in the center with c5 in the same style as the advanced French. Afterwards a3, and they trade off their best minor piece, their dark bishop, for our knight on c3, and their compensation for that is we spent a turn playing a3 and they damaged our pawn structure. So with the main line in mind, I'd like to introduce you to the Alekhine-Maroczy Gambit, and we're going to go all the way down to the 6th most popular move, knight e2. The Gambit, of course, is our e-pawn. They can capture and we can't recapture with our pinned knight. As you can see, the majority of players will accept this Gambit, plenty of which I'm sure just think that we blundered a pawn. But first I'd like to talk about what happens if they play for the same strategy as they do in the main line with the early c5. This is a very common line you'll see because this is such a characteristic move of the French defense and of the Winawer. The move here is the exact same with a3, and most people here will capture. You may notice that after we recapture with knight, in the resulting position, we have traded off our opponent's dark bishop, but we haven't suffered one of the major downsides of that because while we did play a3, our pawn structure isn't damaged and our pawn is still defended. You may also notice that we're about to have an open attacking game against a French defense player with the bishop pair, so this should go pretty well for us. I'll follow the most common line because again, you will see this. It looks like most people just hang this, which is interesting. Obviously very difficult to play for our opponents. Most people are just blundering right out of the gate because again, they're French defense players. They're not really used to playing black in an open game. So if they ever play c5 in the style of the normal Winawer, just remember to play a3. That way we can reap all of the benefits of the trade on c3 and none of the downsides. All right, next I'd like to cover knight e7 as our stand-in for if our opponent just does anything really passive. We'll play for the same plan we'll always be playing for by starting with a3, trying to reap the benefits of the trade on c3 without experiencing the downsides. The best move is to capture and allow this. We are going to finish developing, castle queenside, and then attack on the king side of the board. When someone plays the French defense, this is not what they want. Next, let's talk about the players who retreat. This will pretty much always be the theme when they retreat their bishop. We're just going to chase it away, and it's important not to get tempted by knight a4, but instead to lock it down with e5, pointing our pawns at the king side, which we'll be attacking, and then only afterwards we can trade the piece off. For example, if they castle, here I would play knight a4 to get rid of their good bishop. Afterwards, we will grab that bishop, reroute our knight, finish development, and attack on the king side of the board. So don't forget, if they ever retreat, we're always going to chase the bishop away. And then after they retreat, before we force the trade, we're going to lock down the pawn structure. With that, we're ready to move on. The most common move that black will decline with is knight f6. And if you watch my video on the McCutcheon variation, there are going to be a lot of similarities here. First, we're going to start with e5. Most people are going to make the mistake of playing a knight to e4. Again, very similar to the McCutcheon. And you may notice, similar to my recommendation in the McCutcheon, we already have a knight on e2 and are ready to push f3 if we need to. Little things like this is why it's so important to have a cohesive repertoire. But as you may expect, the move here is a3. If they capture with bishop, the most common move, we're going to win in the exact same way as in the McCutcheon, starting by recapturing with our b-pawn. The most common move is castling, and we play f3, they retreat to g5, where we have h4. And regardless if it traps their knight or not, we're going to win a ton of time with this maneuver, and we're going to have a huge kingside attack. The other way they can capture is with their knight. Here, I do recommend recapturing with our knight. After all, if we don't, we're not going to trade off this nice bishop. So just remember, recapture with knight. If they retreat, you should know that we play b4, but most people know better and will capture. Here, we'll capture with our b-pawn. Our opponent is going to be very awkward trying to develop, and we have the makings for a very natural kingside attack. We can push our f-pawn. I think this is a great middle game for us. Let's move on. We're finally ready to get to the good stuff. What happens if they accept our gambit with d takes e4? As you may expect, the move, as always, is a3, provoking the trade. First of all, if they retreat, what do? We play b4, they retreat again, and since they've already captured here, we're going to grab that pawn. The pawn is currently defended twice and attacked twice, and after they played knight f6, we'll pin it. We have superior positions, and we didn't even have to sacrifice a pawn for it. And I'll go a little bit further so you can see sort of some characteristic ideas. Usually when you chase the bishop away and you don't get to trade it off, you're going to just pawn storm on the queen side of the board before you castle. Obviously, we're threatening to trap the bishop here, but also we're making it hard for this knight to go anywhere. Meanwhile, we'll have a very easy time castling and developing our bishop to a good square. Back to our starting position. The other line here, bishop e7. Bishop e7 in this position is very reputable. I believe it's the most common at the master level. We have a couple options here. I've analyzed it a good bit. One option is to go ahead and capture this pawn on e4. It's perfectly good, but if we look at the resulting positions, I find them very, very boring, very, very stale, very, very solid. Your opponent is a French defense player. This is exactly what they want. So in my opinion, better than capturing the pawn on e4 is instead playing a more recent idea. And this is some newer theory with very promising early results. We're going to start with g4. When we think about the position from our opponent's perspective, this move makes a lot of sense because we're preventing f5. But on top of that, if they develop their knight to f6, we can kick it and then reinforce it. We're preparing to fianchetto our bishop, and we're also preparing for a thematic big kingside attack in the French defense. Most people play e5. Afterwards, we'll reinforce the pawn, and if they capture your d4 pawn, you can grab it with the queen, and rest assured that this endgame is slightly better for us. But keep in mind this line with bishop e7 is very rare outside of the grandmaster level anyways. Now we're ready to move on to the main line where they capture in the same style as the Winawer, but obviously they're up a pawn and our pawn structure is undamaged. I'd like to start by talking about the same idea we just discussed, f5, and the move I'm going to be recommending here isn't the top engine move or anything close to it, but you may notice it's by far the most common at the top level. It's f3, and the reason for this is I've explored all of these different lines of course like queen h5 check, but they're very engine-y and require a ton of memorization. I would assume this is the same reason this isn't really played at the top level, but it's a mistake not to capture, and once they do, we're going to recapture with queen in the style of that one Blackmar-Diemer line Ben Feingold likes. And the first thing to discuss here is what happens if they grab this pawn. There's two ways that people grab the pawn. They'll either grab it directly or force you into playing g3 first. Either way, our plan is going to basically stay the same. We'll go through both. First, if they capture the pawn, we start with knight b5, targeting their c-pawn. This will be a recurring theme in this line. Afterwards, the most common move is queen e5 check, defending the pawn. We block. They're forced to develop their knight to a6. And our plans here should be very, very obvious. The engine likes bringing the knight back to c3 first, so you don't hang the b pawn. But we have the makings for a nice attacking position. This is not what the French defense player wants. No French defense player would sign up for a position like this as black. Let's see what happens if they deliver the check before they capture. We're going to start with the same move, knight b5. They deliver the check. We block, knight a6, and again the engine likes coming back to c3 before we develop with tempo, but we're going to open up the center of the board and we're going to play for mate. About 30% of players will make that mistake and capture across the board, but most players will opt for knight f6. This would be the main line of this variation, and here we're going to do the same thing by targeting their c-pawn. Here it is good to capture, and we'll start with rook d1, not knight b5, important to remember. They're forced back to b6, and then and only then do we play knight b5. This once again forces them onto a6, an extremely passive knight. Afterwards we can play bishop e3, that way we're clear to castle. Trading queens here isn't the worst if you're comfortable trading into an endgame 2 pawns down. So that's f5 out of the way. Next, let's talk about the most common at the club level, knight f6. Developing and protecting their pawn, very natural move. When they play knight f6, the important thing to remember is that we always pin the knight. Is going to be a recurring theme for the rest of the Alekhine-Maroczy Gambit. If they're not playing f5, we're going to pin the knight. The best move here is h6, but the more common move is knight to c6. Once again, when they play a knight, we pin the knight, and let's say they castle. We can see the idea behind this variation. We're going to start by capturing, ruining their pawn structure, and then capturing again, getting ready to ruin their pawn structure again. But of course, most people won't castle into it, and instead they'll play something like bishop d7. Here, of course, we can still open up their kingside. The only move that prevents us from opening up their kingside is h6, that's why it's the best. Here, I'd recommend capturing, and capturing again. We got our tempo back, we have the ability to ruin our opponent's pawn structure, and we have a slight lead in development. I think this is a great result to get out of the opening. Finally, I'd like to look at knight c6. This is by far the most common at the master level of chess, and is considered the main line. That is, of course, if they accept the gambit, and the main line is knight c6. And our plan here should be pretty natural. Like always, we're just going to pin the knight. Knight f6, of course, transposes, but most people will play knight e7, and once again, we're just going to pin the knight. And here, pretty much everyone is going to play f6. And just like in this Mythmora, when they play f6, we're going to retreat to the e3 square. This will turn into an exciting opposite side castling game. And considering this is pretty much the worst case scenario, after they accept the Alekhine-Maroczy Gambit, this really isn't that bad. And that is every single variation that you need to know in the Alekhine-Maroczy Gambit. Next up, we'll be covering an attacking system I like against the Rubinstein French.